Freedom of speech is not freedom of responsibility or consequences. I think that is something that I have to learn. The fact that you can't really say what you think is true a lot of the time if it is contentious to the status quo. So, in a lot of ways, everything we've learned about Gnosticism, all of our interpretations, all of our beliefs, these things typically should not be brought out in public, I think. So never discuss it. If the stories are mentioned of the Old Testament, never say that we have a different interpretation, because that could be a big enough disagreement that it would be too contentious for public discourse, and there will be consequences. So I'm sure there are already consequences to my words, to my beliefs, and especially if I'm saying them out loud on YouTube. If you're watching, then there are probably consequences to what I'm saying. And I don't know, in reality, if somebody watches this and they feel it is contentious, then they have every right to also dislike me, or dislike what I stand for, or dislike my beliefs, or whatever it is. But this is where the search for truth maybe has gotten too serious. So, because of its serious nature, it's best not to bring up in public at all. I would say everything that we know or we think to know should not be spelled out in public. We need to have private forums to discuss our findings, discuss what we think, what we believe. The masses, I think, they're not ready to hear a lot of the things we know or we think to know. So there's that. Because Gnosticism is definitely a contentious issue, especially if we are discussing with mainstream Christians what they believe versus what we believe. It is definitely contentious. So simply, we will never bring it up. And we'll try to survive in this world as best we can, and we hope, we don't get killed or anything. That's how serious we are. Yeah, I'm just going to Subway, grabbing something. But that is just another thing to keep in mind. A lot of the things that we think to know, we actually, the core values of our beliefs, everything, we can't really bring it up in public. And even privately holding on to these views may be bad, but we do what we can, and whatever consequences we will face for its reality, we just need to be prepared to face those consequences of our actions, or the consequences of our beliefs. Because, it's like, I think atheists are the worst in some sense, because they think they have all the truths about this world and all the hidden knowledge, all the occult. They think it's just bad, or that it isn't worth anything. So conversations with atheists over Gnosticism, I don't think would be very fruitful a lot of the time, because they're so sure of their way of seeing the world. They haven't figured out that there may be a completely different interpretation of the world they live in, which has already existed which has always existed. So already, maybe just never bring up what we think to know in public. And, we'll just see how things go. All right, thanks for listening.